everybody, my name is Pluto. Today we're going to be doing another commentated video. This time it is SezNative Reminiscence, QQ Reds, and I'm saying QQ because the actual name of the stage is in the title of the video, and I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it or even what it is right now, and I don't have it written down anywhere. So yeah, this is just going to be QQ. This is another SezNative star. If you watch my Twitch streams, you might realize that this video came out quite late. At the time of recording this, it's July 11th, and I got the star on July 6th. In short, I just procrastinate a lot, and because I do like the little voice training thing while I record, or at least try to, it means that I can't really do it when my parents are home, which means that weekends it's kind of hard to do commentary because they're pretty much always home. So because I missed out on some opportunities to do it earlier, I had to delay it to now, and that's why usually my videos get delayed, but regardless, it's not a big deal. We'll be fine. So yeah, this is QQ, and it's the last stage in the game that is kind of reasonable. As you can see, the stage has a lot of interesting geometry, and by interesting geometry, I actually mean some of the most basic geometry in the entire game. It pretty much consists only of cubes, flat faces, etc. And these are going to be used in very interesting ways to create some fast-flowing, very fluid and fun gameplay. So yeah, the red coin star can pretty much be divided into two main paths. Both paths will drop us near the beginning of the level after they're done, but you can choose to do them in either order. Personally, I prefer to do the one that is associated with the later stars in the level first, because in my opinion, it's the more difficult path. However, as you can see, I'm not doing that. I'm actually going to the path that's associated with the earlier stars, and that's because when I was doing this attempt session, I had actually died to it a lot. This star only took one session of attempts, which is about 2.5 hours long, and I was intending to do the other route, but the problem was that I had just died to this jump while doing the other route, so I was like, okay, clearly I'm having issues with this, so instead of just dying to it over and over again, I'm just going to do one attempt where I get past it. Coincidentally, this attempt happened to also get it, which was really nice because it meant that I didn't have to worry about, you know, the routing shenanigans too much. I could just, I guess, technically a fluke, because while I had done a couple attempts with this route before, it was literally just like 1 or 2 attempts, and I switched back to the normal route because I just prefer it. There's not really too many jumps that are too challenging. You mostly just need to know what the different types are. So the blue cubes are normal, the white cubes are the quicksand, anything that's green is kind of slippery, and the red is lava. So that's the main different types of platform. And of course the beige yellow is like normal. Here we need to land on this red coin. The best way I could do it is that jump dive there. If you get some momentum and do a jump dive at the peak of your jump, generally you will hit that red coin. And it's actually good enough that you can take your time on these other cubes to get the momentum to make these jumps, and you won't take any damage. It's a pretty nice strat. So we now need to go back to these lava cubes. This red coin that we're getting now with the lava cubes is a little bit trickier. It's not really that difficult. I never died to it in attempts, but it is just a little bit harder because it's very possible that you just like overshoot or undershoot the cubes, because it's quite hard to see where you are due to being suspended over the air. So that means the Mario cam isn't really functional. Let's get down there. This puts us on the star 1 path. That was just the star 2 path that we were in. There you can see my raid alert, because I have a cute raid alert. I do like my alerts, they're all Toho themed. I've been meaning to like play more Toho games, but the issue is that like I'm in such a Mario mood. It's like I love Mario so much that it's like I took a break from the game from like a week or something when I was doing FT120s, where I wasn't really taking it too seriously. And then after that, I've been just in non-stop, just I want to play this game like 24/7. Like I love this game so much, dude. It's so addicting. I just love the movement. I love the sense of satisfaction. So this red's a bit tricky here. Grabbing it, you can like kind of try this again and again until you get like a really good jump, but my preferred strategy is to jump down and then kind of do like this little air wiggle. You want to move back so that way you land on the slope, and then start moving forward so that way when you do land on the slope, you're walking up it. which means that you won't belly slide on it. You can transition to a butt slide, and that makes this section a lot more manageable in my opinion. So that's my first strat. Landing on this cube can actually be quite difficult, but as you can see here when I fell off it, there's actually a lot of ways to save yourself if you fall off, so you shouldn't worry too much about this jump. Get back up there. Yeah, so just gotta keep trying. There's a couple different strats that you can do. I know that Remu does a strat where he dives onto the bottom of the cube and then he transitions into like a walking up it. As you can see there, you have to be careful though, because this cube is kind of going downwards and it's just the tiniest bit like sloped, so it'll actually like shove you off it really quickly. So you gotta make sure that you do the roll out quick. This wall kick section is a little tricky, but it's mostly just landing on that wall kick. Once you land on that wall kick, it's not too hard. These line up pretty well. On this last cube, you do have to do a dive. And then, for this red coin, the best way I could get it is line up with this corner here, and then just crouch and hold up, and that wall kick lets you land safely here. And if you recognize this area, it's because it's the beginning of the stage again. So we get to do this little reclimb, and then we're going to be back to kind of that crossroad section, but now we're going to opt to go to the, my opinion, harder of the two paths. It's honestly mostly the harder one because of one jump, which I'll point out. But yeah, we're going to get there. You need to repeat that jump. That jump's a little tricky because it's very easy to be in a kind of awkward position. It doesn't really matter for the early stars because it's right at the beginning. But my setup for that is to try to do a jump dive on the middle of like the downward slope of like the first downward slope. And generally, if you do that, in my experience, you can just kind of hold forward, and then it'll give you a really good setup where you have a bunch of frames to jump and you'll still make it. So now we're gonna do the other path. It's worth noting that this level is actually quite fun in my opinion. It has a lot of really fun walking sections. This level was made by Ura. I don't know how to pronounce it really, because I'm not too sure about Japanese phonetical pronunciations, but I guess if it was English it would be Ura or like Yura. They made this level. They also made Course 10, which is another level I liked. Some people don't like it because it's kind of got some awkward stuff, but I actually liked it quite a bit. This level I think is definitely better. It has a lot of fun, fluid gameplay. It kind of has like a sense of flow that other levels don't have. Because the thing about a lot of like Kaizo is that a lot of it's kind of slow paced. But this particular level generally doesn't have that feeling as much. It kind of feels like you can kind of just move and you're not really held back as much by just like the precision. You can just kind of go. Of course there are exceptions like this jump where we do need to line this up because we need to get this red coin. I feel like that red coin looks a lot harder than it actually is. It ended up being pretty simple. You do need to grab it though. Turn around. Get up here. Now we're going to go to the hardest jump in the entire stage in my opinion. We need to get a red coin in this little cube walking section. The problem with this cube walking section is that it's really janky. You have to essentially do a series of arches around these little flat planes. You might think that these flat planes you can just go through, but actually if you look carefully they actually have ceilings. The reason why you can kind of go through them normally is because they don't have like ceilings, they don't have walls, which means that when you jump through them, you just be able to pop out on top. Here, because they have ceilings and walls and stuff, you can't do that. They actually work as hard ceilings, so you need to arch around them, which can be really awkward because it's positioning there. Combined with the fact that these cubes are not aligned at all, they're actually slightly slanted, means that jump is actually quite difficult. You send these series of cubes, which are not aligned by the way, they're kind of zigzagging. And then we get up to here where we have some enemies. You don't have to kill these enemies, but personally, I had died to these I think 1 or 2 times, so I opted to kill them instead because it just seemed much safer. Plus, killing these check cubes will actually make a jump later when we have to triple jump wall kick onto this cube a little easier because you won't have to deal with the check cubes. Just throw them off the ledge. Easy peasy. So now we have this jump. This jump is kind of like the signature jump of the stage. It's this very elaborate walking sequence. In Reds, we only need to do the first third of it. It's split into 3 sections. This first one, and then the second one, which is along the wall, and then a third one, which is into the star. For Reds, we only need to do the first one, like I said, but you do need to do it twice. It's just kind of this walking sequence where we have these walls that will change your angle. When I did the star normally, I didn't do this cheese, but in Reds I opted for it, where you can just, instead of doing the elaborate walking sequence across the whole thing, you can just stick to the back here with the 44.9. From there you can just jump down here, and you have this walking sequence. The main thing you need to watch out for here is a false ledge grab, or just ledge grabbing period, mostly because these cubes are all different distances from each other, and they're slanted, or some of them are slanted. Go into a butt slide here. That's generally the best thing, because then you can do a nice quick slide here and get enough momentum to make that dive. Remember what I said about how the green slopes are a bit slippery, which means that maneuvering on them is a little difficult? There is an exception to that later in the level, but that's later in the level. Jump up there, and this happens to land right here. So that's nice. I do apologize if I feel like I don't have much to say about this level. It's mostly just because it's just a fun level, and it's very simple. A lot of these jumps don't really have like a ton of like nuance to them. They're kind of just jumps that are normal, but hope you can just enjoy me talking regardless. I actually haven't been enjoying this game a lot. I'm not sure if I've voiced my opinions on it in a commentated video, but in short, I think in overall 3 this game ended up getting a lot better. The obvious exception to that is course 12, which is a very, very weak course in my opinion. It is just not fun at all. But excluding that stage, I feel like overall 3 has just been a lot of quality back to back and has been really fun to play through. This stage, course 14, and Divine Sentence, and as well as B2 have been my overall 3 highlights. I think those stages were just really fun. So yeah, you have to do a little bit of a reclimb where you just do the jump again, but thankfully if you know what to do, it's not that difficult, even if you are doing the cheese. The cheese is quite a bit faster though, so. Here, we're going to choose to do a QSLG. I opt for a positive for QSLG just to get a pretty good one. And then we can come up here. We have another arching section with these like weird ceilings, but this one's actually much easier because the cubes are perfectly aligned, and these arches are just a lot easier for that reason. You don't really need to worry about like any janky things or whatever. You can align a lot easier. Just have to get this arch. Now opt for a chain here because this jump actually is a little tight. Gotta get to that cube. And then it's actually smarter to hit the right wall, but for some reason I'm not really comfortable doing that stuff like that. I guess because I'm just like worried that it's gonna be slanted, even though I know it's not slanted. So I have to do this. And for this section is a little weird because it doesn't really, from what I do, there's not really an intuitive way to do it. So what I have to do is get this alignment, which I align with one of the bricks on the back wall there, and then with this angle, it generally lines you up pretty well. That you can just do a triple jump up here, and if you strain a lot, you can make it to that cube. And now you need to start kind of holding back a bit because you're going to be getting an angle pretty quickly from these. Once you do that, you're going to be back here, but we're done with that section. We can just jump off the stage here and do a dive rollout to get down here. Easy peasy. That one wasn't even dustless. And here we have this jump. This jump's a little tricky because it is a momentum slide kick. That was pretty much the perfect way to do it. What you want to do is you want to be forward enough that you don't hit the quicksand when you're doing the double jump, but you don't want to be so forward that you have like no time to do the side kick. You want to just have just enough time that you're in a good position. And immediately we transition into my least favorite jump on the stage. This jump is really frustrating because you literally cannot see what you're doing. You just need to memorize the walls. But thankfully it's a bit retryable depending on which walls you bonk on, but I happen to get a first try, so you don't get to see that. Okay, so this walking section is a little weird. All these cubes are kind of at different orientations, different positions. It means that it's a little awkward. You kind of have to just get a feel for it. There's a lot of sections like this where it's just like a bunch of cubes at different orientations. I think it's kind of cool. There's like this theory in like game design that's like limitations create a lot better ideas than just like doing whatever you want. And to a degree, I kind of get that because the stage is very limited in the geometry and the kind of jumps it is, but it manages to have a lot of jumps that don't really feel the same despite that. I feel like it's a level with a lot of variety in spite of its very simple geometry, and it's just kind of cool to see. I think if anything, it's kind of inspiring because it's like I could see like someone, you know, wants to make Kaizo levels, like thinking, oh, I have to make all this complex geometry, but no, this level's a pretty good example of how you can make a pretty fun stage without doing like much in the way of geometry. And it's not at all a disrespect, because I think it's really impressive to make something this diverse with such simple shapes, like just cubes and stuff. I think it's really cool. It's super impressive, and just props to the creator, because this is awesome. For this long jump, doing a long jump at the edge there lines up with that cube pretty nicely. Unfortunately, I got a firstie there. That firstie is a bit bad. Walking off and doing a dive on that green slope happens to line up for this section. I thought that this was something similar when I was doing the normal stars, but it turns out that you can just triple jump off this cube. And that's intended, I think, and much easier than what I did. I'm in this little cube tower. This thing reminds me of like LU 1.5 B3. If you've played that level, you might know what I'm talking about. There's a section like is sort of similar to this. Here though, there is a red coin on it, so we gotta drop down. It's a pretty easy drop down, just gotta jump behind it, onto it. Easy peasy. So it's worth noting that this next section, I don't really know I don't really know how this next section works, but I do know that it does work, so let's take a look at it. So these slopes are weird. I'm not really sure what the property is that's like being abused for this, but when you're walking uphill on these slopes, you pretty much have like a full range of movement. It's kind of like almost like hands-free holding almost, the movement you can do. However, when you're going downwards or backwards on them, you will always do a butt slide, and it allows you to do that weird triple jump thing. There's an entire star in this level that abuses this mechanic, and it's one of the coolest stars in the entire game, and just a really cool Kaizo star in general. Definitely one of my highlights for this hack. It's just such a cool idea, and it's something that I've truly never seen before. I just liked it a lot. As you can see, both the paths now converge, and they land back here. Conveniently enough to get the 17th red here. You might be wondering, like, oh, getting that red this late is kind of risky, isn't it? Well, actually, it's not that risky, and that's because the way that this game works, when you pick up the 100th coin of 100 coin star, the frame you do that, the star is going to spawn. However, when you get a final secret or a final red coin, what's going to happen instead is that the game is going to wait 4 frames and then spawn the star. So, if your wall kick is within those first 4 frames, you can be pretty safe. The absolute safest way to do it is to bonk above the red coins, that way when Mario is mid-bonk, he's going to land on top of it, and then he's going to pretty much guaranteed wall kick, because if you don't wall kick, then you probably don't have enough frames to wall kick. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. That's how you can grab red coins like that without being in danger, which is why grabbing a red coin from a wall kick isn't the most dangerous thing in the world, as long as you do it properly. So the star spawned way up in the sky. It actually spawns in the highest point of the stage, I believe. Getting there requires one more repeat of this section. We have to do that really tricky jump that I mentioned earlier, but thankfully we don't need the red coin, which means that we can actually skip part of it, with an angle at least. Well, you don't need an angle to skip part of it, but the angle makes it a bit easier. So you definitely want to do it because it's safer. Standing on this, when the platform is sloped and you try to do a long jump on it, Mario's going to enter the crouch slide state for a bit, and that crouch slide is actually going to distort his angle a little bit. So moving on this downwards, that slope that's going to the right, will make Mario go slightly to the right. And this angle happens to be a really good angle for this section. It lines up just really well, so that way you can just do this arch easily, hit the bottom there, arch, arch. Just gotta watch out for the false ledge grabs here that you can get on the very ends of these cubes. Thankfully your angle is good to do this arch. Here I was like super close to the bottom and almost died. That was extremely dangerous. I do a big boy triple jump. And that's the end of all the reclimbs, so now we can just get to the actual ending of the star. When we came over here, you might have seen these little cubes along the side. These are to get on top of this little building, but they're actually pretty difficult. This ending is actually one of the hardest parts of the stage, which might be a bit of a turnoff for people wanting to get reds here, because yeah, chokeable endings are always a little scary because it can be really hard to stay moralized in chokes. Personally, I don't want to get too much into my mental health, but I've been having some pretty rough mental health lately. Which is why I'm just like, I've been kind of struggling with this game a little bit, just because as much as I love it, I have been getting a little frustrated, mostly at myself, but every day I'm trying to work on it and I'm trying to get better. It's really difficult, and sometimes really small things can just bring you down, but I'll keep going. I'll keep playing this game because I love it. And yeah. We have these kind of elaborate walkie sequences. This intro is not too bad, but this is where it kind of gets difficult. You have to do a big wall kick sequence here. It starts by, you know, making this wall kick, but now you need to hit the very, very edge of this, and notice that it's a cube, so as you get closer to the vertex, it's gonna get a little narrower there. So you have to be really careful to not fall sledge grab or hit the bottom and death pixel. You can just barely make it on these other cubes. Now we can rest just a bit before the very ending of the sequence. Just kind of walk down these steps. Easy peasy. Big wall kick. I turned the camera here so it's a little more favorable. I just don't want to turn the camera in the middle of this because the angle that you get from this wall is kind of strong, so you gotta be careful. And then we come to the very top. Bonk up this, hit the corner one more time, and get up here. It's important to note that this section is not retryable because that green on top is actually quicksand, so you have to be a little careful. But these jumps at the end are a little trivial. There's just one kind of scary triple jump dive at the end. So that's about it for the commentary. Hope you enjoyed this video even though I didn't have too much to say. And I'll see you on the next video, and I hope you guys catch my streams because we'll be doing DS Reds. See you guys then. Bye. Nice. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous at the end. But I fucking escaped that menu, holy shit, you guys saw that? I fucking zoomed out of that save menu. That save menu was no match for me.